Hello everybody, I'm Pastor Paul and welcome to Thrive Thursdays. We want to dive into the scriptures and get insights, principles, teaching on how we can do better, how we can thrive in the day in which we live. You see, the Bible says that, "Beloved, I desire that you prosper in all things and that you be in health, even as your soul prospers." That's in the letter to 3 John. And so the Bible says it, and we want it, and you want it, and I want it for you, and I want it for all of us, that we thrive, that we do better, that we prosper, that we get along well in all areas of our life, and that we also be in health. Because what's the point of getting along in different ways and then our body is too broken, too injured, too unhealthy to enjoy it? And it says, even as your soul prospers. Because again, what is the point of gaining the world and losing your soul? What is the point of getting stuff and not have people to enjoy it? So therefore, we're interrelated. And every Thursday, we're going to talk about these areas of thriving. Thriving in our finances, thriving in our families, thriving in our relationships, thriving in our soul, and thriving in our physical health and wellness. And so let's get ready to thrive. So today on Thrive, we're going to learn some principles of how to make a profit with the enterprise called you. Each one of us want to do better in our finances. We want to grow and have available to us things for our children and our spouse and our future. We want to make a difference with our resources. But some of us go month to month. Some of us are struggling. Some of us wondering how we're going to make ends meet, and it creates frustration. The Bible says the plans of the diligent lead to profit. Therefore, we're going to plan this thing. We're going to be diligent about a few things and then turn a profit on the business, on the venture called you and your work. And so are you ready for this? We're going to dive into it and understand some principles of how you can P4P. That is, plan for profit. Every business today plans for profit. They do things in increasing their revenue. They do things to expand their market share. They do things to improve their brand to make a profit. They manage their expenses and their staffing so that they can make a profit. And guess what? We're going to take some principles from what we understand of how business works, but also from what we understand of what the scriptures teach, and put those together and understand how you and I can turn this thing around and make a profit for yourselves, for your family, and for your future. I hope you're ready. We're going to learn some, what I call the money math. Basically, it's simply this. All of us in business operate on this basic foundational principle that says, look, revenue in, expenses out, and the difference is our profit. So if our revenue is this much and or expenses is less than our revenue, guess what? Revenue minus expenses equal profit. The problem happens in a business where that thing gets flipped, where the expenses exceed the revenue and they make a loss. And if they make a loss over and over and over, the business can run out of everything and close. We see today many businesses are closing shops and closing stores and closing franchises, and they're trying to reduce their expenses so they can still turn a profit. And if they don't, they go bankrupt. In our personal life, what happens is if our revenue is always less than our expenses, we now have a loss. But guess what? We got to keep on living. So what do we end up doing? We start to finance our loss through debt. And therefore we accumulate credit card bills and debt from one area or another. And that burdens you down. And eventually you might even have to go bankrupt as well. Or you lose your reputation. You start to lose things and it's not a good picture. So guess what? Today we're going to learn how to turn this thing around and go for a profit. So we're going to take some principles from Proverbs 21, because in the scriptures is wisdom for everyday life. So two things to make a profit. One, you're going to either have your expenses the same and increase your revenue. Or if you have your revenue the same and you decrease your expenses, you make a profit. Eventually, we're going to do both. Increase our revenue, decrease our expenses, and make more money. In this first segment, we're going to talk about the very easy, the very straightforward way to drop our expenses, reduce waste, cut off the unnecessary things that are not satisfying enough and not worth it for you so that you can turn a profit. Notice what I'm saying. I'm not telling you what to cut or what's worth it for you. Only you know that. You're going to evaluate your life. You're going to see where the wastage is, where the leaks are in your bucket, and you're going to plug those leaks and you're going to turn for yourself a profit. You right now immediately are going to start to change this thing by doing some very simple exercises of learning how to be wise and how to close the leaks. Because as you and I know, our wealth is limited to our leaks. And therefore, if we close the leaks, it starts to accumulate until we overflow. And that is the ultimate desire that we want, that we have more than enough to satisfy every need that we have, and that we have plenty left over to be generous, to do kingdom expansion, and to make a difference in the world. But today, let's do principle number 1. Let's get rid of some waste and let's fix this thing. Are you ready? So, Proverbs 21, that verse 5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Whoa. Haste leading to poverty? What is haste? It's hasty decisions. It's like those impulse spending that lead to poverty. It is those, things that we just purchase without even thinking about it. We don't realize the impact it's going to have on our budget. It's not impact on our life. And then we regret it. I've signed a lease before and go like, oh God, why did I do that? I'm stuck paying for this car for 3 years and I made a bad choice and it's hard to reverse. See, that created a leak for something that is not giving me the satisfaction that I wanted because it was an impulse. And many times you go to the mall or to the store, you're having a bad day and you say, you know what, I'm going to just feel good by shopping, and then later on you're in regret. So here is principle number 1, or the way you can fix that. Number 1 is plan for your impulse. Set aside how much you're going to spend on your impulse, and you regulate that based on the profit you want to make that month, and say, you know what, I'm going to now manage my impulse spending to a certain amount each month, and therefore when I spend it, it's gone, and I have to wait till next month to do it again. And so manage your impulses and you would win. If you don't manage your impulses, the Bible says it would lead to poverty. The next verse, in verse 17, says, he who loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and olive oil will never be rich. What is it speaking about there? Love there is a word that it's like an addictive habit, an addictive spending. So addictive spending would lead to poverty. Addictive spending, whether it be on pleasure, what is the thing that makes you happy? What's the joy that you get? What's the little activity that really, I would say, sweets you? If you're addicted to it, it will ruin you. It could be as simple as playing golf. It could be as simple as going to the spa. It could be as simple as going bowling. Whatever your pleasure spending is, if you don't regulate it, it can create a leak in your life and lead you to poverty. So again, the plans of the diligent lead to profit. So you determine, you have the power, you decide how much am I going to spend on my pleasure based on my overall situation. And then once you decide that, you are diligent to stick to it, and you'll have some fun, but you won't go into ruin at the same time. Principle number 3, in verse 20 it says, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil. That means the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but the foolish, it says, devours all they have. The foolish one gulps it down. So guess what? What is the Bible saying here? The one who's going to make a profit, the one who's going to start to increase in their wealth, is the one who starts and learns to save. And many of you would say, I don't have enough to save. I used to say that until I realized that what the Bible was teaching was to get into the principle, the habit, the literal lifestyle of being a saver. So what? I have to start somewhere. Whatever you start, $10, $20, wherever you go, start the habit of regularly putting something aside. Because when you start saving, it accumulates and it builds up. Because fools are the ones who gulps it down. So the next bonus you get If the very first thought that comes to your mind is, okay, well, how can I spend this? Woo, I got it, finally. Let this verse ring into your head. The fools gulp theirs down. But instead, say, you know what, hang on. I'm going to save this because there's an opportunity coming for me that I'm going to be able to take advantage of. I'm going to be like the wise virgins who had oil waiting. I'm not going to be like the foolish virgins who wasted their oil, and then when the bridegroom came, they could not go. That's a parable of Jesus where he's saying, be ready and prepared. Because when preparedness meets opportunity, success will happen. And so get yourself prepared. Save so that you're ready for any contingency, any challenge, any issue. You can do it without stress. Save so that when an opportunity comes, you can invest in the right thing and make even more. So the Bible says, principle number 1, impulse spending. Manage it. Set aside what you need for that. 2, it says pleasure spending. Regulate it, that it stays within the goals you have. And then 3, start saving with wisdom and accumulating that would cover contingencies or emergencies and also give you an opportunity to invest in your future. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do today. This is going to be like homework. This is going to be what's going to show you your profit, because planning for profit means you have to sit down, you have to get some paper or your spreadsheet, and you're going to evaluate the next last maybe 2 months, 3 months if you can, of all your spending. And then you decide what you would consider a waste. What is that subscription that you're not using? You signed up for this movie channel or stream, and the series that you're watching is done, but you're still paying that monthly subscription. That happened to me until I woke up to like, whoa, waste, get rid of it. What is that? Those are things that you're buying that are just parked in the garage or just sitting around, and you realize that, you know what am I spending on that? And then you now make a decision as to what you're going to spend for your pleasure, for your free spending, and you decide what you're going to cut. See, other people tell you, hey, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. No. You have the wisdom. You decide, but you would know, is it bringing benefit, satisfaction? Is it bringing help to your life? And if it's not, cut it. Then add those savings up and then multiply it by 12, and you'd see the amount of additional resources that are coming to you. Whoa! And then start saving that difference and watch what God does with it. So, thrive by first getting control and managing the flow of income and the flow of expenses so that you can turn a profit. Next week, we're into part 2, how you're going to increase revenue and get ready for more of what God has for you. Hey, this is Pastor Paul. Hope you enjoy this. Subscribe, share, send me a question or comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you next Thursday. God bless. Bye-bye.